Right. We will now have roll call, please.
Vivian? Nancy? Tony?
Here.
Brad?
Here.
Jan?
Here.
Paul?
Here. Fantastic. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. All right, you had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions? Or anything that they want attention drawn to?
I'd like to pull H out and vote on it under old business because it was carried forward from last month.
Yes, it was. So, just for clarification, that was H, so we're pulling out H and putting it under old business over in the council meeting.
We need a copy of it too.
So that would be C, and then transcribe that information.
I have a copy. Yes, last month. I've got a copy for them.
All right, so everybody has stricken H. Now we'll make the new H. John does address it. Aside from line item H, is there anything else that needs attention in the consent agenda? I don't want to move too fast. Let's cut it short on anybody, but we'll move along. Fantastic. Minutes, and maybe just a little bit more time here. First, let's just talk about the March 26, 2019 workshop and council meeting minutes.
I don't have the workshop minutes. I may have lost my copy. But there are a number of issues on the council minutes that need to be corrected.
Do we need to not address those in this meeting and push them off to next month?
No, I think it's minor stuff.
Okay.
Can we start on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
March 26th, the council meeting minutes, item D, 3D, booking the building inspector's hotel. That should be conference cost and hotels because it was a combination of the two.
Booking for conference cost and hotel and conference cost.
J, the next 21, I think we need to put in a amount. I think it was $798 times 2, but I need to swear to.
Yes, it was.
The following motion, approve the consent agenda without A, C, H, and I. I was the one that was excluded.
I missed you on that one. Would you repeat that one?
The motion to approve the consent agenda without items A, C, H, and I.
Okay, and that's not I, is it?
Second page, same thing about the building inspector's hotel. Before 3338, it should read conference costs and hotel.
Conference cost.
The executive session is missing. It should be on the fourth page.
1, 2, 3.
If we went to executive session before we voted to pay the town attorney's bill, so the executive session should be listed in there.
Which one was the town attorney? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
Look at the top of that page right there, they're not numbered.
Wrong, the same thing.
Look at mine. The next thing, number 5, the motion from Jay on the pay 515 for the body cameras. That motion was passed, so that vote is not correct. We did pass that motion.
Which
Number 5 on the same page, motion to pay the body cameras.
Okay.
We did pass that motion. So that needs to be corrected.
So who is none of who's this?
Would you have or something?
Oh, no, I don't remember.
I would have written it down on my notes.
On my notes, it was
I
a,
remember the discussion, well,
No, this was after the executive session, and after the executive session, we came back and voted on it again, and it passed.
I thought we was gonna table it until we found out where we was gonna get
We voted to pay.
Thank you. We ended up voting it because we realized it could come out of,
Okay, so that needs to be
Capital.
corrected. No, we didn't talk about capital for the body cameras. We went on and there were several motions about where to pull the money from, but it was never resolved. There's something in here twice. If you look on 8, item 8, let's see what page it is. Page 7, item 8D, the mayor's mileage expense. We need to take that out, it's a duplicate, it was on an earlier page.
it was on another page.
Yes.
Okay.
It was,
There was a little page on the same one where you just said it passed, and it said it didn't pass. It's right below that from the previous thing that Tony was talking about.
Oh, yeah. The conversation is there, and then the motion, and no, there was something else.
You know, where you said this one passed, and he's got it didn't, there it is. And then it goes back all the way. It's in above 4 originally. If you go back to point number 4, it's right above it.
Oh, there it is, there it is.
Instead of 8.
yeah, so just strike that because it's in there twice.
Take your word for it.
it sounds pretty good.
Sorry. Also, the first couple of pages, I would, just for consistency, most of the votes are either yay or no, and there is a nah on 2 of them. I would change that to no. No.
I'd rather have yes in that.
Just change them for consistency, yes and no. That was
Yes.
it, like I said, just minor stuff except the executive session section was like that.
Any other additions or corrections to the minutes for March 26th?
We worked hard on it, and
we did.
And I appreciate
Marathon meeting.
Vivian coming in and helping Tyler.
thank you, I spent about 4 hours, we tried to straighten out, and I apologize, I got some of them wrong.
And at the same time, I'll recognize Annette and the time that she offered on Saturday to help us, and Jan, to help get some other things going along. So certainly great to have commitment from people who are willing to come in and help. I know everybody in this room helps in one way or another, for sure. Okay. Anything else for the minutes?
Anything on 214, or, workshop, see,
I don't have any.
would you like to look at that?
Did you see anything?
I did.
No, I did.
Thank you. If somebody else read it.
I was giving a call by myself on here.
All right, we'll move on into, and I'm not sure that would be much, as far as taking sewer that we could say in here.
Are you back on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
7, we need to add a D, 7D. Oh, well, no, I guess it would be new business. Let's make it 8D.
What is it?
We need to amend the meetings from, amend the minutes from the January 10th meeting. There were 2 items left off the consent agenda that we voted to pay, and they're not on the consent agenda.
Jim, once those have been approved, can we just make an addendum?
Well, I think the process is to, in your workshop or otherwise, to make the corrections and then in your meeting to approve the minutes as corrected.
So we just go back in and approve them as correct?
I think you can do that under.
Okay, where are you at this
We
time?
we only have a copy of these.
I gave one to,
We're gonna do this in the council meeting.
where are we?
I would put this still under 4.
Okay, all right, so we're not going to put it under
That would
new
be the
business.
logical place to be.
Instead of putting it under new business, we'll put it under approval of council and workshop minutes for
Correct.
March
It would just be a
and
separate motion to approve those minutes as
and
corrected.
January 10th.
January 10th?
Yes.
So this is,
Okay.
You've already memorialized the corrections.
Yes.
What do you want, council or workshop? That's what's
We're making the adjustment on the council minutes, or on the council agenda.
Is that what we're talking about? Johnny Decker?
But you're speaking of a minute.
No, we're not on the
Minutes.
We're putting on forward with the minutes. We're talking about reviewing the minutes, we're just adding another line.
There we go. Right here. Under approval of workshop minutes from 2/14 of 19. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm on the agenda.
We're on this one right here. Okay, well, this one right here.
No, not that, because that's the workshop. We gotta put it on the,
The one right
You
there.
got it, that's what they
that's it, right there. On the agenda for your coming up work, council meeting. We wanted to put approval of, workshop and council minutes, January 10th, 19.
And you should do that with respect to all of your minutes, to make them official. Just have a motion and an approval by the council of your corrected minutes every time.
Right, we always do that with minutes when we, like such as we're doing today for 326, but I've never had them where we all approve them, and then we come back and realize we gotta add
As
some.
long as the corrections have been made.
Right.
Now, didn't we also have workshop minutes for February to approve tonight? Were they not in the package?
yes,
So we need to add also under 4. So
Yes.
we're approving.
February 14th?
Yeah, February 14th. This is the workshop. We already did the council.
Workshop minutes. And that's 2/14?
Yes.
yes.
Anything else under the minutes? All right, back to your workshop agenda. Well, before we get into that, let's talk about let me make sure my stuff's on here, just a moment. We've got the application for the club at Lakeview there. Okay, yeah, we're good. So back to the agenda for the council meeting, or for the workshop, I'm sorry.
On the agenda.
We're down to 6. Discussions for septic tank and sewer.
Can I see your workshop minutes for this meeting?
Did you not get a copy?
I think I made adjustments on it and brought it in.
You'll make you a copy of that one, that's what was in the packet.
Y'all keep going, I can hear you from the hall.
At this time, I'm sure we'll have plenty of discussion on the bench. Is there anybody that wants to make a comment about septic tank sewer here? And my purpose in having a safe room there, put there, I know there was some concern that the septic tank, when we go with septic tank, that might put the hiatus on the safe room. I think the safe room is of is one of the most important things that we can accomplish for the people during our term here. And I certainly would never consider it something that we were done with. I think we have a resolution that we are going to move forward with the safe room. I think that was needed before we could hook up with Mr. Culpepper and move forward. But it's certainly my intent to keep us going forward on the safe room.
We did sign an agreement and write a check for $15,000. The project has been on hold because until the decision is made where the septic and where the safe room can be located, they really can't start the work.
Has FEMA money been freed up yet? I know at one time we were sort of waiting on some of that to happen.
We've had FEMA money freed up 3 times in the last year, but we've never been in line for it because we've never put the pen on the paper for the first thing. So that was what I was hoping we would have a meeting for, was to discuss how the septic system would impact the safe room project so that we could try to come up with a resolution.
Any other discussion on that issue at this time?
If I may, y'all just educate me, what the obstacle has been to developing the space problem for the safe room.
Well, you got to have something to do with the waste that's generated when you're in there.
Correct.
And if you had if it was just going to be the
Is there
one that looks like a tanker truck, you could put like what amounts to a toilet tile style restroom in there and pump it out when it's being used. But a safe room, we would like to think somebody's going to be in it every couple of weeks at least.
Is there a proposed location for it?
My understanding initially was that we would be putting it out here around the parking lot.
My understanding is it goes behind the cart barn, and we can't put it behind the cart barn if we use all of that property for septic tank and field lines.
Never voted on a location.
No,
When the
that was
gentleman
never-
was here
He never
and we were
voted.
talking, no, when the gentleman, Mr. Culpepper, was here, we talked about handicap accessibility, but the council as a whole, we never said, y'all assumed that it was gonna be behind the cart barn. From what we were talking about accessibility, I was assuming the parking lot because you had to be able to pull up and go into the thing. If it's behind the cart barn, there's more to than putting a building. You're gonna have to redo concrete out here to make ramps so it can be driven up there. We never got in that discussion. The cart
I
is
agree.
before the horse.
I
Well,
agree
before
with
the
that.
horse,
I agree.
the
The
assumptions.
engineer for the project will determine where the safe room can go. And we have not hired the engineer for the project yet because we still don't know if we can put the safe room on our property. When Culpepper was here and met with us, he walked me to this spot right back here. And he said, you pretty much have 2 choices. This grassy area right here or somewhere out there on your parking lot. He suggested that spot because he said the parking is right there in front. The only change that would need to be made is the curb. But again, it's going to be an engineer decision. It's not our decision. We don't get to vote on it. It's whatever the engineer determines. But to answer your question, we only have this property. This is it. This is all we have. The conversations that I had with Culpepper, the meetings that we had, the minutes that I took, the Encompass 360 guy that we contracted with, it does have to have 2 ADA compliant restrooms. When we talked about it here, connected to whatever the town was doing. So it was at the point that we contracted with him, we were looking at tying it into our sewer system, our septic system. Then we found that we were losing our septic system and the project was put on hold. Because if it's going to be put, if field lines are going to be put here, the safe room can't be put there.
So it hasn't been engineered, you don't really know what you're doing.
Exactly, that's why I'm opening my mouth too, that hadn't been decided
Well, that's safe to be-
and where it comes up.
Now, I did take it on myself to contact Waste Management this week, and if we were to put, purpose of argument's sake, if we put the safe room out here, and we put in the reservoir type restrooms where they go into a holding tank and it has to be pumped, they would put us on a maintenance contract that's $55 a month, much cheaper than the sewer would be, $55 a month, and it would come by one time a week and pump the holding tanks out. They'd estimate that we could probably go a month without it being pumped, but they don't have monthly pumping. This is the most spread out that has once a week.
Every conversation, every meeting that we've had with Keith Hager, I asked the question about tying in the safe room. And he has said, if we go with a septic system for this building, the safe room will have to have its own. It can either have its own septic system, which means we'd be buying two, or it would have to be connected to the sewer. And then there was some talk about putting in a pump to pump over, and I mean, that's my hold up here. We have not
You need an engineer.
resolved well, not really the engineer. We just need to resolve the issue of the safe room, where it can go, and get a real clear idea of costs.
But we also discussed you being able to use it for as a multi-use facility, right?
It is a no-use,
Yeah, one option was to go with the one that's strictly a storm shelter that looks like a tanker truck. And if that was all we were doing, then it would be an easy fix, because it's only going to be used during a storm. We know when the toilets have been used, and it'll be easy to call them out for a one-time pump, which I think is like $70 a month if you do just one.
but we didn't go with that option because Paul Pepper was telling us about the difficulties in keeping that closet hut type thing free of mold and other issues.
Not to mention just the added space that it brings for other people to use.
And by the way, we do own one other lot, to make you aware, we do own one lot on the other side of the interstate, besides this.
You really won't think it.
Well, I was just telling you that since
Yeah.
you didn't know. She
No,
said this
yeah.
is the only property the town owns, plus the original lot that we have over there by Station 1
I've been-
Fire.
It's 100, probably the 100 by 200.
Yeah, it's just a
It
single
may not
lot.
be exactly those dimensions, because
It's close.
They've changed, but it's approximately half acre.
Has there been any consideration to doing the safe room and tie it into this building some kind of way?
I had thought to it just be an additional area for, an area for an additional safe room for residents over on that side.
So I'm talking about the proposed safe room, has there been any thought to building in a way that it ties into this building?
Yes, when we've asked Keith about the septic proposal that he has done, it would only accommodate this building and the bathrooms and the car barn. It would not include the safe room.
Because the safe room is non-existence and the county doesn't tie on things that don't exist. It doesn't mean that it couldn't be tied on. It's not going to say, okay, 4 toilets can be added in a make-believe room that's going to be added. They don't do it that way.
I've asked him specifically every time if it could be added, and he has said no. Not without having, if it being out there, without it having some kind of pump that would pump this direction, or a tank and a pump that would pump in this direction.
Can it be placed in the cart barn?
No, I recall Brad asked about reinforcing the cart barn and making the cart barn a safe room, and that's not cost
The
effective.
way they drill down and they go down.
That's not really an option.
And it costs us any future usage of the safe, in the cart barn.
Yeah.
I'm going to approve it. It's been a while since we discussed it.
You could do it like the schools do, and then incorporate classrooms and labs and everything are in an area that is their safe room area. So you could definitely do it in that building and still have use of that building.
It's an option. Again, I think we need to have a meeting to discuss these options and come up with a plan.
I believe you asked for one last Friday, and nobody responded to me, but I saw.
Any other discussions on the safe room item? Vivian, you had something?
Yes, Bill Bean is the Board of Adjustments chairperson, and he needs 8 planning and zoning books to give to his people, because they need to check into things when we have a Board of Adjustment meeting. And he also needs to be placed on our call to business, if anybody has anything to say, on our next meetings.
Reports of special committees and boards.
Do as a communications, because of course he can't tell you unless he has anything to report. So I said as communication, or communication. Yes, ma'am.
So we'll add an F.
Yes, Board of Adjustments on communications. Is that the first word?
That's fine.
But we have to agree for Tyler to make tape books for him with binders to give out to the people that's on the boards. Please.
Why don't we put that down as D under new business,
Okay.
so that we can be very clear that we're asking him to do that. How many do you need? 8?
Yes, sir. Of course, you'll have to buy.
I think we've got enough in there now. We've been recycling some, so I think we've got. All right, let's get down to, excuse me, department business. Building inspector.
We had 23 building permits, miscellaneous and building permits that were issued this past month, and approximately 67 scheduled inspections. That doesn't include any of the visits that I've had. We collected over $3,700 in permits and fees, and we noticed that we're getting further along with the construction out here. We've had a few days where we haven't had rain so many days in a row. So we're moving forward, getting ready to do curb and gutter work, and noticed the really bad hole that was out here on the parkway. We milled it out and put concrete in it, and then come back and put asphalt on top of that. For an example, and I think I remember telling y'all that last month that we did that, and we got it done for free. One of the contractors trying to initiate showing us, because of the weather, options to install road improvements with the wet soil condition that we're having to deal with. That's it.
Any questions for George? Thank you, Mr. Bickle. Police department, chief?
For the month of March, we made 3 arrests on NCIC warrants, had 3 assists, contacts, 42 calls in corporate limits, 14 calls in the jurisdiction, 11 calls outside the jurisdiction, 1 domestic violence call, 1 drug arrest, 3 false alarms, 11 incident offense reports taken, drove 3,162 miles, 2 non-traffic citations, 1 on view arrest, 24 outside agency assist, 5 traffic accidents, 29 traffic citations, 29 traffic stops, and 4 warrants checked, 3 warrants served. For the first quarter, 13 warrants served from SIC, 20 assists or contacts, 121 calls in corporate limits, 32 calls in jurisdiction, 30 calls out of the jurisdiction, 2 calls to Petro, 3 domestic violence, 4 drug arrests, 9 false alarm calls, 1 felony case, 32 innocent offense reports taken, drove 10,418.2 miles, 5 non-traffic citations, 6 on-view arrests, 1 other type of an arrest, 73 outside agency assists, 6 traffic accidents, 89 traffic citations, 94 traffic stops, 14 warrants checked, 11 warrants served.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Report from the court.
We started off with $20,208.01. We deposited $10,168.75. Withdrew $9,583. We ended up with $20,793.76.
Questions for Carol?
How are we doing with our jail time?
I contacted when I went down there yesterday, asking for it. They never did. The people that were there were at lunch. So I left a message for them to fax it to me, and they come in.
Thank you, Carol. Town clerk, Mr. Tyler.
On the general fund, we began with $474,422.14, and we ended with $486,420.33. And in savings, we began with $252,856.81, and we ended with $252,919.18.
Any questions for Tyler? Thank you, sir. Does the attorney have any report today?
My activities were preparing some documents and answering some questions, and nothing very substantial. Thankfully, we don't have any litigation.
One of those documents, I handed it to you. This will not affect us, but it will affect the next council if they choose to allow it to affect them. And I say it that way because it allows them to take a salary for the mayor and council if they choose to. If we don't set this up, I think it's 6 months before. So this, and I was very clear with the attorney as he was setting this up, this will allow them to take anything up to these amounts. So they can decide they want to take less as a group or individuals, however they want to do it. Some people can take nothing if they so choose. It will allow them to be where most of the other towns are. The attorney could probably speak to that better than I do. But, if there's any questions about that?
On the agenda for a vote?
I think it is.
You may want to mention where the amounts came from there. The amounts were,
It is, it's an 8.
the compensation amounts were a consensus of the similar small towns throughout the area.
And then we lowball them. Most of them were at 5 and 3, so we thought, well, let's start a little bit easier than that. Went to a lower amount. And then another thing that we have not put on the agenda, and I would like to put on the agenda, I guess under new business, you have a reimbursement where I went down and met with KI and a few other mayors this week. They're getting ready to roll out their new census program, and you guys being the second fastest growing municipality in the state, you'll be getting lots of information about this thing I'm holding up in my hand. You're going to get t-shirts and pins, and you'll be asked to walk around the neighborhoods encouraging people to participate in the census so that we can get all the money that we're supposed to be getting. The theme is Lakeview Counts, and of course each municipality had their own logo. We'll have photographs that we can put on the website to help encourage it, just the same as the personal appearances will. You'll learn much more about that as we get closer to 2020.
Was that new business E?
Yeah, let's do new business E, yes ma'am. Mileage reimbursement for mayor.
Didn't we say the state?
Did you say that was 56 cents a mile?
58.
It's 58?
58 and a half.
58.5?
As of
58
January
and a half, okay, well, let's refigure that then. 58.
Oh, no.
Change it to what I saw, I don't think. That changes the total to 119.34.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
119.34. Also, just to make you aware, where are we on the agenda? Okay. Where are the agenda? We have been moving very quickly this week to get, you'll remember Mr. Creek, Chris Creek came down and introduced himself as the new manager of what was the country club, now the club at Lakeview. Made some fantastic changes up there. I think the final piece of this puzzle and getting everything transferred over to him is his ability to get the ABC board permission for on-site alcohol consumption, and we have that packet here. We followed the guidelines set out for us. Police chief's done a background check and some other on-site things.
Where did the background check come from?
The background was just strictly criminal. It was whatever he does on his, he could answer that better.
Through less.
Through less. And that's something that's on the agenda for consideration under new business item A. Just want to make you aware of what that was when it comes up.
Yeah, I told Chris to come on to the workshop in case there were any questions, to make sure we get it all wrapped up, so there are no hiccups in the council meeting.
I was under the assumption we had to have a public hearing for that.
We did.
And it's supposed to be advertised.
And there's plenty
For
Is that right?
3 or 4 weeks.
Nothing I'm aware of. Not for, this is
Not the
a
way it was
transfer.
done
Yeah, this
in the
is
past.
transfer.
Yeah, but it's already been transferred, and I thought it was considered new because it had already been transferred a couple of times, and I believe that they told me it can only be transferred twice, and this would have been the third time it had been transferred, so it had to start over.
I'm not aware of that.
Is there any way you can determine one of the?
Well, that'd be an ABC board, that's not us. Yeah, the
Yeah, he's
ABC,
already got it worked out, the ABC.
the ABC board's got their own thing.
ABC's got their approval here.
Well, no, I guess the only approval you probably have from them is the fact that he can apply for the license. And it's up to us to do our due diligence in holding the public hearing, making sure it's advertised before we give the approval, or denial or approval, whichever is voted on for the license.
Is that in our ordinances and regs and stuff?
I think it's just in the ABC book.
They don't go by the ABC book.
George, do you have anything on that, since you work for?
According to our ordinance on business license for alcohol, it says in case of an application for beer on-site or off-site license, they're supposed to go through a notification process in public, in the newspaper for 3 consecutive days, 7 days before the hearing, and it's supposed to be posted on the front of the building during that same period of time.
Where's that coming from?
It's in our,
But I thought that was for new
That's for
business.
no, it
There's
says-
already an existing
it
license.
says,
That's for a new application or a new business that's gonna start selling for the first time.
right, this is not a transfer, this is a new guy.
It's a transfer of license.
It's
It's already a
transfer of
license.
license for the
establishment.
establishment.
The establishment's been there, they transfer the business ownership is all they're doing.
Because that's the way it's been done in the past, was a transfer, and you didn't have to do that.
It's not a new restaurant or bar or
But they changed the name of it. If you change the name of it, it's a new business.
Nancy, each time it was transferred into the name of the person that was doing business as. Like, when it went from the Lakeview Country Club Board of Directors, it went to T-Box Inc., which then went from T-Box Inc. to whatever Buckland and Associates.
But they all did business as Lakeview Country Club. He's changing it, of course, he's got his own LLC or
Correct.
Whatever company name.
Right.
Okay, but he physically changed the name of the establishment. He's not operating under Lakeview Country Club. He changed the name of the establishment to the club at Lakeview.
So if we go with the public hearing, are we just looking at delaying this vote till after we err on the side of caution?
There's something else in there, George, about gaming machines that he's supposed to pay us, or pay $100.
there are no gaming machines.
Let's stay on task for the alcohol right now.
So what are we saying, that we have got to go by this because the name has changed?
That's my understanding. That's my understanding.
Well, we need to be factual about that.
Yes, and the main thing is because we want the license to be in the person's name, that it would be the one that would be getting in trouble if he didn't follow the Alabama state laws. Right now, the person that the license is no longer there. So that's where you can have an issue, because he's not going to get in trouble if he sells to minors, because it's not in his name. It's in Buckland's name. So that's why it's always been such an easy task of getting it to the correct person. So if there's any problems, it goes to the person in charge. But you have documents on that? If you do, let's go ahead and set up what we need to do. I didn't know that we had to do that.
I'm not aware of any requirement to do that for a license transfer with an existing location where there's already a license.
Under number 5, under the section B for alcohol license, it says this section shall not apply to the renewal of any existing license, but shall apply to any new licensee or transfer to any new business location. The town council and the county electrician will not consider the application in which the application has failed to comply with requirements of, and then we're going to do whatever otherwise required by law.
Okay, since it's not a new, yes, you want to interpret it, because if it just says location, it's the same place.
Does anybody else other than Vivian want a copy of this hotel bill? I would like to have
A copy of one?
the hotel bill. We talked about last month.
Sure, I'd like a copy.
And Paul wants one too.
I'm gonna start having a food truck in the parking lot.
I see it every time. You can leave another one in the paper.
I'll eat I always skip dinner because I come straight from work.
I got sandwich.
I got a full-size pickup truck with the grill in the back. $8,000 grill. I can put 60 brats on it at one time.
Yeah, man. I love
Just roll it out.
I brought
You need to get on.
You're kidding.
Yeah, that doesn't say what he said.
It does not.
No, it says transfer the license to a new location.
It says what I said, I read it verbatim.
I mean, it doesn't mean that.
All right, so we're,
It says that provision does not apply to transfers of license,
thank you.
except if you're going to a new location.
Okay, right.
So what was it? You have to repeat it a third time.
Oh, my God.
Thank you.
I know, not part of this discussion, but I know from previous business that the procedure for a transfer of a license with ABC Board is different from a new license, because you already have the location of everybody. So what that says is that you have to have a public hearing if you transfer the license to a new location. Like if you've got, would be two businesses moving across the street.
I see.
But that, all those are safeguards with respect to the location.
So we're able to move forward with this, in your opinion?
Because if you look, they paid for
That's fine.
Well, I mean, ABC Board is ultimately the ones that issue the license. We're just, y'all are just approving really the operate. You're doing the background check on how you already,
you know, he didn't have to pay for it.
the location's already there, so that's not changing.
Is the review of lets,
Unless he did that.
is the review of lets appropriate for the,
That's a legitimate, they use lead for any legitimate law.
I mean, it gives us everything to do.
I know,
It sure is.
just never called because it was our,
Because really,
that's what I'm saying. Really what you're because when it says, you know, the car doesn't move around, things are like,
But, you know, they can see what we're doing, and they're not going to approve it.
All of the old business,
yes, ma'am.
evaluate a laptop for Tyler. Because when I was up here before, I was helping him, he could type faster than I could speak.
Yes.
So when he's writing, he's slower than the food.
Now, you said old business, you mean new business, don't you?
I think we already asked for one time.
Oh, not for him, not for him. So let's make that F under new business.
And
What are you wanting?
A laptop for Tyler for the council and the workshop meeting. Because he can type, I guarantee, he can type faster than I can speak, and he can write as slow as a turtle. In my personal observation and being here. So please, let's give him a laptop.
I got it.
You can't help it.
It's
You're not
okay.
handed.
It's okay.
Wait a minute now, let's not talk about levies.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, guys. Now, is anything else to talk about in the workshop, or anything else that you know of right now that needs to be added to the agenda for the council meeting? If not, I will adjourn us, and let's take about a 5-minute break, 7-minute break.
What's wrong with budget and finance?
Don't keep your seats.
There's one other thing too.
Okay, make it quick, because I promised somebody some time, and I haven't given it to them yet.
Okay, he was supposed to get a voice activator.
The voice recognition.
Yeah, and he does not have a credit card to order it, so I told him.
I've already handled that with him, but thank you for trying to go. All right, I had promised Annette some time to talk about this in the workshop, and I did not put her down there, so please, at this time, Annette, you have the floor.
Just real quickly, once again, thanks Tyler for coming in on Saturday, and Jan. And we sat with Tyler a couple weeks ago on Saturday morning for 3.5 hours. So I think there's still some things, in order for Tyler to be successful, he still needs some tools, and the tools need to come from the council in various forms. For one, there is some items that when I mentioned them to Tyler, he looked at me like I was a three-headed monster. 6 months transfer. The council knows about, there's 2 6-month transfers, one is done in April, one is done in October. This is April. Tyler didn't know anything about it. So the only person I know that knows about it, I assume, would be our auditor as well as our former town clerk. So somebody needs to tackle that. That's one of the action items Tyler wrote down. The other thing is, currently looking at the budget, the council approved several invoices to be paid in the last council meeting. There was 2 payments to the advertising, the next 21. They are not shown in the March expenses. The way I look at it right now, there's 2 payments that we are lacking to that company, since there's a contract we're responsible to make those payments. So there shouldn't be a month where we're not making those payments. So we need to catch that up. The other thing is I did not see the quarterly payment for LETs. That should have come out February, March. The other thing, there's a quarterly payment for our dispatch service of $5,625. I have not seen that. There should be expenses in February and March for our security system. Also, and it was already discussed about, it would be great if we can have an update as far as our inmate housing is concerned, where we are with our current billing, as far as how many dates and all that. If council remembers, the end of last year, we ended up with about $36,000 in expenses that were kind of unexpected. The other thing is, and it's an ongoing issue, it would be great if the council would look at some of the telephone expenditures, for one Comcast, the other one for telephone mobility. And I know Tyler mentioned to me that there was an incorrect posting of $741 in the month of March. So if that was incorrect, then that needs to be corrected and the correct amount needs to post. So looking at the overall expenses, and Tyler has a couple other action items he's working on for revenue with RDS, we need to have a breakdown. I don't know if the council member is willing to help Tyler figure out ad valorem, where we at with that, because when we worked on our budget, we were anticipating an amount for ad valorem, and unless we split that RDS bill and really look at it, dissect it, right now I can't tell you what of that bill is, or that revenue is ad valorem. So overall, looking at the revenue and the expense comparison after the 6 months, we're looking with revenue pretty good. Again, you need to remember that ad valorem, the first 3 months, 4 months of the year is usually, well, let's call it October, November, December, maybe even January and February. The amount for ad valorem is really, really big. For instance, month of March, RDS was $94,000. How much of that is ad valorem, I couldn't tell you. But, so our revenue right now is looking really good. Again, the second 6 months of the year, we probably won't have any ad valorem coming in. So let's not get too excited about how much revenue we're showing right now, because right now we're right at 65% of what we guesstimated to take in as revenue. Expenses look a little bit different. Again, you know, some of the items I just mentioned, they're not shown as expenses yet, even though they have been approved. With the expenses right now, we're right at 39% compared to what we expected or what we budgeted our expenses to be. So overall, we look good. But again, we need to be very cautious because some of the items have not posted, some of the bills have not come in or been paid, and then revenue ad valorem we have taken in a big chunk because it was the beginning of the year. So Budget and Finance will meet on the 23rd this month, and hopefully by then we have a couple more payments posted. But I think as long as it took us to get the council to approve the last budget, I think we should start in May for our upcoming budget for 2020. So, yeah, that's all Budget and Finance has. I'm done.
Anything else in that? Thank you for your hard work too. Something else I need to do.
B-Tech and Carol, what are we gonna do about it?
About what?
B-Tech.
Big Tag and Carol.
They're having.
Can we tell?
Yes, bring us up to speed. Briefly.
Talked to Brian yesterday because they could not, the reason that office probably couldn't be wired is they can't access it. Everywhere he tried for an hour to get wire, a fish tape there or some kind of rod. And so tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're meeting him and the guy to come in and get that wired tomorrow price is still the same, is what he told me over the phone. $525, they're gonna come in, I'll be here to wait for them. And they're supposed to come in tomorrow and wire it.
Okay.
And move the fax and the mail machine out, just outside the door. Because it's cheaper to go through that instead of trying to run wire to put it somewhere else. So they're just gonna go straight through the wall and rewire it that way.
Okay.
Just to let y'all know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything? We have officially used up all of our excess time now, so, break as quickly as you can, and let's go to the, council.